each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good afternoon. It's a Tuesday. All right. Yeah, Tuesday. Good. All right. So happy Sober Tuesday. Our in-person meeting will be tomorrow. Is it really an in-person meeting when it's just one person? Is it? Hey, Heather. Hi, Amber. Sup, Siski. Now we're all rushing. All right. Broski. It's good to see you. This is actually coming from the talk that I just had with my therapist, or what I would actually call a bitching session. And it's kind of first part of it was bitching about things that are going on. I just sometimes I need to get it off my chest so that I can take a better view of it. But yeah, this last month has just been it's been really hard for me, for my wife and I. One there was one good thing. My therapist asked her, "Have you been arguing a lot lately?" And no, my wife and I, we just don't argue that much. We're on each other's sides, man. We've just been through too much stuff together. We've been through a lot of hard things. We never even really argued when we were dating the first time. When I met her, I was 16, 17. She was 15, 16 years old. I was her high school sweetheart. I didn't go to high school, so I didn't have a high school sweetheart. But by 17, I was already emancipated and I had my GED and stuff already. I did really poor in school. I went and took my GED and I scored in the 98th percentile. How's that for stupid, Dad? Called me a lot worse than that. All right, welcome to Daily Trudge. My name is Dion. If you're here, please say hello, whether you're watching live or the rewatch. We're going to get started. I don't know how long this one will be. We'll just kind of see what happens. I don't even really have anything in particularly planned for it. All right. So the last 4 or 5 years, I've been trying to find a place or get to a place where I could go to work in a recovery center, a sober living, and I can't seem to find it. Um, there are some of my own things that are blocking. I'll give you an example. Um, I like I figured West Pines is doing the right thing. Maybe they need some peer support. Community Reach Center, they're kind of working with me. So and they're like, and we'd like you to be COPA certified. Yeah, I'm not COPA certified, and that is where we run into problems. It isn't that I'm not willing to go get the certificate. I don't need the education. They're not going to tell me anything I don't already know. Be a good reminder. I'd certainly go with a good attitude, but they're going to want me to take things like ethics. And the person that's doing the training for the ethics for them committed Medicaid fraud. So, how can I just can't. Mm-mm. And this person knows I know. So I'm supposed to go into and let them teach me while I'm sitting there going, but you did that, but you did. Yeah, see, it's just not going to work. Mm-mm. I won't do it. I will refuse. And is that really on the other person? No. Is it on Community Reach Center? Not particularly. No, it's not really on anybody. It doesn't match what Dion does. Right? And I'm very, very good at helping people out. I am good at what I do. Right? So my therapist and I, we're going to work on a few things, some goal setting, working on the anxiety, the social anxiety, getting out. My social anxiety is not what people think. Okay. She's like, would you be okay walking door to door, knocking on people's doors? And yeah, because we were talking about power washing. I'm like, yeah, it doesn't bother me. No. It is when I am confined somewhere and I'm required to be there. And it comes from my trauma when I was very, very young. When my parents put me in a Mount Airy Psychiatric Center and group homes. And in my mind, even to this day, I didn't really do anything wrong. I didn't do anything illegal, but still, I was required to be locked up. It still just doesn't quite make sense to me today. I do get the dangerous part of my alcoholism, where I was a danger to myself and other people. That I kind of get. At the same time, taking away somebody's freedom. See, it's when my freedom is being threatened that I start to get antsy. If an AA meeting doesn't end on time, I might get a little antsy. Actually, I don't. Because I know it's going to end and I want to be there, right? So, Amber says, when I went door to door, they told us to knock on the doors that have no soliciting signs. Yeah. I'd be brave enough to walk around, knock on people's doors, and sell no soliciting signs. Yeah, I would do that. Absolutely. I've always kind of been a hustler. The problem is sometimes I look at things and everything just feels really fucking overwhelming. And that is the place that I stop. But something's gotta break at some point. Right. I find that when it comes to AA and recovery, particularly AA, I'm very, very good at what I do. Amber says, I always felt extra good when you got the lead on that house. uh, you know, yeah, 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 he's kitty. But yeah, a lot of us alcoholics go through this, um, finding out where we belong. My drinking was based on just trying to fit in. It's all it ever was, because I never tried to cut back on my drinking. I didn't. The page 21, there's some things in there about me. Sure, there are. Like building up a good future and then tearing it down. But I never did things like switch from scotch to brandy. I never tried to cut back on my drinking. I never did any of that. I just didn't try because I knew I was an alcoholic. I just didn't give a fuck, you know. Um, I was kind of embarrassed to go back to AA after I, did what I did. I was a great representation of somebody in recovery for 12 years, well, 10 years, you know. But, it sucks when you don't feel like you belong. Come here. Come here. Yeah. Somebody wants my attention. Um, for me, um, I don't know. It's kind of a weird balance because sometimes I'm like, yeah, things are good or whatever, but man, sometimes life just gets like right now, it's just too lifey for me. Um, and sometimes it's hard for me to sort out my emotions. Um, I was talking to my therapist a little bit about the Adderall, which did work, but it brought up my blood pressure. But it did one other thing. The walls that I have up to keep me protected from my own empathy crumbled. And everything came rushing in last week, towards the end of last week. And it was just way overwhelming for me. And the thoughts of, I don't want to be here anymore started coming back. And, I even kind of felt that way this morning. I don't want to be a fucking burden, man. I don't want to be a burden on somebody else. That includes my own family, my own wife. I just, you know, maybe they don't see it as a burden, but as a man, it feels different, I think. Um, you know, there are some things that, like starting a recovery residence, and there are parts of me that sit there and go, well, Dion, how are you going to pull that off because of this or this and that? The doubts that creep in when really when it comes down to it, I can do it. I'm perfectly capable of doing it. Um, it's kind of like, I try and I try and help at least one person a day, and I know that I help more than that. I mean, my yesterday's was downloaded on Podbean 68 times. So that means I helped out 68 people yesterday. I don't know if it helped them or not, or, you know, but it seems to be consistent. So, maybe I'm helping 100 people a day, and I don't see them, I don't hear from them, and that's okay. That's fine. Just knowing it is kind of good enough for me. But, I got to leave this world with a sense of accomplishment. I got to leave my mark before I get out of here, man. And I can feel that time waning. I have to have purpose in my life. If I have a purposeless job, that'll kill me. That would just kill me. But then I see people out there trudging through it all the time, and then I wonder, well, Dion, why can't you do it? But it's not as easy for me to leave the house as most other people. You know, um, at the same time, if I keep repeating that, I need to change it a little bit. It's something my therapist and I are going to start working on next week, because I may not have insurance at the end of the month anymore again. So, it starts to build up. But I'm tired of a few things. Um, tired of advocating. You know, it's like when I spoke with Aurora Mental Health, and I called it. I said what they're going to do is tell me it's not in the budget, and they said it in a really roundabout, nice way, like, oh yeah, we might be able to do it later on or whatever. But this is the way I see it. I mean, they really don't need to pay me that much. If they were concerned about their resources, if they were really concerned about their retainment of their employees, then that wouldn't have been the answer. So what it tells me is they don't care. They don't care. Or when it happens consistently, I tend to take it personally. And I have every right to take it personally. You know, I usually have to form what it is. If I do have a job, I usually have to conform it to what it is that I'm good at. I don't know. I just don't feel like any of this is making any fucking sense to anybody. I'm pretty frustrated with life right now. Something's got to give at some point, because the dam's about to break. My wife's walking around in pain. That bothers the hell out of me. While she's still being not necessarily forced to work, but she shouldn't be fucking working. She should be resting. And I'm just not sure what to do. And then when it gets there, then it's overwhelming, and then I can't get anything done. Sorry, I'm just not sure where to go next on it. What I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to put a post on Facebook asking for some help. I need somebody to help me find a house where I can get this done. I need help with it. You know, if there's somebody in my area owns a house where they're willing to make a little bit extra money off of it, you know, I'm not sure. You know, and it scares me to even post that and ask for help, because nobody's gonna say anything. Nobody, I doubt very much anybody's going to say anything. I'm glad that, you know, sometimes I'm talking to somebody, they're like, I was in a meeting and you know, they were saying this and this, and I thought of you. I'm like, that's great. Did you bring up my name? I'm glad you thought of me, but in this case, thought doesn't count. Oh no. Well, thanks for thinking of me, I guess. You know, I wonder. There is proof in the pudding. I mean, if you take a look at the grassroots meeting, it's doing pretty well. You know, but when I do things like talk to Community Reach Center, and they don't really, you know, they asked us to start an AA meeting, and it doesn't seem like we're getting any support. You know, if their clients don't know that meeting's there, we are there as an added service, and you're not. It'd be like you're having a picnic for all the clients, but you don't tell any of the clients, so none of them show up. Same thing. You know, I'm not sure what they were expecting. And the lady that I spoke with last week, she had made the appointment for 30 minutes, but it went 12 minutes, and we didn't get anywhere. We didn't get anywhere, but I'm the kind of person that I like to follow through. And so, you know, I let them know what a good thing to do, probably in this case, is to write every single person that works for Aurora or that works for Community Reach Center to tell their clients. You know, all they did was hand a flyer to the managers. Well, what did the managers do? Did you give them direction? Did you, you know, and none of this was, you know, and this is supposed to be an outreach person, but it just didn't see, it felt like there was anger around this for some reason, and I don't know what it is. Why is it that whenever I talk to a place, I feel fear from them? Then what goes through my mind next is, what are you doing wrong that you don't want me to know about? Because it's the only reason that you would have a fear. So I've tried for the last 4 or 5 years to find a place that I belong in the recovery system, and it doesn't exist. They ain't out there. Which means I'm gonna have to do it myself. And I have to admit that, you know, it seems like everything that I do, I'm doing most of the work. Whether it be yard work, whether it be grassroots, whether it be, you know, I knew that was going to happen, but sometimes it's too much. You know, I don't always feel like going to the 5 o'clock and setting everything up and doing it, but I do it. You know, and we're getting there. I would say out of everything that I do, I get the most help there. Absolutely. But that meeting's got to get to a place where Dion ain't doing nothing but volunteering to just like everybody else. You know, um, I want to be I want to be a leader. I do. At the same time, I don't want to run around stepping on people's toes either. You know, um, I don't want to get caught up in all the rigmarole out there. I don't want to be a part of it. The drama, the bullshit. You know, if I do open a recovery home, there's going to be some fairly strict rules, like working Monday through Friday. Otherwise, you can't live there. You got to work Monday through Friday, day job. And I have reasons for that because we will be going to meetings. You will be doing the 12 steps. I need your time to be freed, and it needs to be consistent, and things like that. Yes, that includes the weekend. I'm going to fill up your weekend with activities and things that we do as a house. I thought about maybe combining the power washing with the sober or with the recovery residents. So if somebody does come in, they don't have a job. Well, now you have a job power washing. All you got to do is pull a trigger. You don't need to know much. All right, and then I can have a job for it. And but I'm gonna need help with it. I'm gonna need the community's help with it. Um, I'm not worried about whether we're going to be able to make rent or not. That's not the problem. You know, and the thing that gets me that, and I'm just kind of being trying to be transparent here is, you know, I get started and then people, what about this? What about that? What about this? And they just look for all the bullshit that might happen. You think I haven't gone through that yet? You think I didn't sit down and figure that out? Here's the first one. What are the neighbors going to think? Go talk to the neighbors. Go talk to the neighbors. So, but it can be difficult to find out where you belong in the grand scheme of things. I'm certainly feeling my inadequacy at the moment. Everything just feels way too fucking big for me right now. And it kind of sucks. And it's one of those things where I can't just snap out of it. I have a feeling some depression's moved on in. My friend depression need a couch to sleep on, so it's staying over for a few days. All right. Well, I think I've kind of done enough complaining. Because that's kind of what this was. So, you know, the other reason I do this is so that, and why I'm transparent and talk like this is so that other people know, and so that when I say it, then I don't feel as lonely, and then other people understand that other people are like, oh, you know, people like Dion go through it too, which means that I'm not alone in all of this, right? And I do this stuff so that we all don't feel so fucking lonely, and we do feel like there's a place that we belong. And that's what's great about grassroots. See, it isn't just on average, we have about 15 people now. And most of them are people that found us through DACA, right? The key is people keep coming back. They're saying, I want this to be my home group. It's the reason that we went to 6 days a week, because I wanted people to know that they had a home group. I guarantee people miss it on Sundays. It just feels weird on Sundays that we're not there. I thought I'd only been running this group for about 3 months now. It's been 6 months. I forgot that we were only Tuesdays and Saturdays for months on end. You know, so see how it's grown naturally. It's grown organically. And that is the stuff that works. That is God working in that group. And that group's doing a lot of great things. You know, we cover each other when it comes to change. It just happened in the group just a minute ago. Somebody's like, I'm not sure if we will be able to chair tomorrow. This is going on. and somebody else stood right up. It's what we do, man. You know, so, you know, not everything's too lifey right now. There are some things that are stable, thank God, right? I end with this. We're not all sick on the same day. And that helps. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I appreciate it. Heather, Amber, it's good to have you. Thanks for hanging out and listening. I appreciate it. I'll see y'all in about an hour. I love you. You know I do. Peace out.